90s shingle style house. Now, Charlie Silva has got to turn his back over to the homeowners in just about a month, so there is a lot to do. There is a beautiful stone staircase underneath this temporary wooden one built by Mark McCullough and his guys. Couple details still going in. These beautiful granite caps just went in, and there's going to be a bronze railing going on right in there. It's going to make it look terrific. Steve, how are you?
Kevin, how you doing?
All right, so what are you putting down for us?
We're putting 1x4 epay decking.
Beautiful.
And it's a tongue and groove system, so you just put these little clips in and a screw here and you're all done.
Blind fastener.
Yes.
All right, bulletproof too. Love it. Check this out. Now, all of this space in here is brand new, so new porch. We've got the beadboard up on the ceiling, and when you're out here, you can enter the house through the main entrance, or you can actually come in here through the new dining room door. This space right in here, dedicated dining room. We've got the tray ceiling up on top. Heath, how are you?
Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
All right, how's the electric going?
Good. So we're at the point of doing the finish work now, which means we're doing the switches, receptacles, and starting to install the light fixtures as well.
Love to see it. Finish is coming our way. What do you say we go upstairs and find out what's going on up there? We've got a big master bedroom just off the top of the stairs, and it includes a nice walk-in closet behind me and a beautiful master bath. Hey, Rich.
Hey, how are you?
Look at this.
Beautiful tub sitting right in the window, and there was no logical place for a tub spout. You know, there's no place to put it, so the tub filler went over here.
Yeah.
But look where the spout went.
Check that out, huh?
We were really nervous that it was going to splash when I get down here, but they've engineered it so that if there's enough volume, more than 5 gallons per minute, it actually will fill the tub and not splash.
Beautiful spot for a bath. All right, and a beautiful bathroom overall.
Kevin Bilo and Chris have done every inch of the plumbing here, and now they are jammed in this corner. And for these guys and any plumbers, it's always about the wrenches. And there was one invention, one wrench that was very special. It was the Stillson wrench. It was invented about 30 miles away from here, and it changed the plumbing industry. I'm going to visit a plumbing museum. This is the Plumbing Museum in Watertown, Massachusetts. It's got a little bit of everything. But we came to talk about a wrench, the Stillson wrench. So Michael Fitzgerald has fashioned himself to become quite the expert at the wrench. How are you, my friend?
Nice to see you.
How did this happen?
Well.
How did you become an expert in this?
So I have a son who's interested in carpentry, and there are some tools in a cabinet in the basement, and I started looking through them, and one of the tools, well, several of the tools were wrenches. And I said, oh, this wrench is made in Boston in the early 19th century. How big a deal was that? And I just got really interested.
And you're a reporter.
I'm a journalist, and it turns out that they're really important, wrenches.
I know that, but tell us why you think they are.
Well, so this is sort of the foundation of modernity, if you will. We can't be modern if we don't have running water, because it keeps us safe and it keeps us healthy. So
You're speaking my language.
Without these tools, it's really hard to, as you know better than really hard to make pipes work. And without pipes, we don't have that. Without that network, we don't have anything else.
So let's put some historical context. So in the 1800s, the cities were growing like crazy, and people were moving into the cities, and they needed clean water to get to the buildings, right?
Right, and there were no public utilities of any sort, but there definitely weren't public water systems.
Right. And back at that point, everything we would be running might have been lead piping, where you would be pouring lead and shaping it and actually making the water piping, so you didn't need a wrench, right?
Right.
But as the Iron Age came and we had to now start cutting and threading pipes, either galvanized or brass, you needed different tools to try and join them together.
Exactly. And with advances in technology and standardization, we had to do things like this.
Right. So this is one of the first wrenches I ever saw. This is called pipe tongs. Now this is just like a pair of pliers nowadays, and you tighten them down onto it. And so it was the same issues you have with a pair of pliers, that when you go like this, you're really relying on how much strength do you have to hold that. And if you're not strong enough, it slips. And if you're too strong, you can actually squeeze it out around. Now, before that, if you only had a hub like this, any of these wrenches could work, because see, they had no teeth and they would fit there. But it became more of a challenge with the pipe like this. So these were some of the other ones, the chain wrenches that would actually tighten it up. But then along came a guy named Stillson.
Dan Stillson, he was a ship's mechanic in the Charlestown Navy Yard in the Civil War and on board ships as well. He is a mechanically gifted guy, kind of a mechanical genius, and he comes in one day with a wooden prototype of this new kind of wrench, this new tool, and the company's like, oh, this is really interesting. This looks like it could be really useful. They have him take it down to the machine shop that all the factories would have had at that time, and they gin up a prototype of it in steel, and they say, okay, You got a wrench, here's a pipe. Go off in this room and either come back with a broken pipe or a broken wrench.
Yeah.
When he comes back with a broken pipe,
It was
they
so
say,
strong.
we want this.
Right. So this is one of the original Stillsons. Which one?
This is a later model Stillson type wrench. This is a smaller one that is an actual Stillson.
So the key to it is when you put it on, and you want to make sure you have what they call a 3-corner bite, that you go here, 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 and here. There is no way for it to slip. That the more effort you put onto it, the more it tightens up. And because it's got the 3 corners, it doesn't take it out around. And that was the difference. And then he also invented this release, because otherwise, if it didn't, you wouldn't be able to get it off. So it always could be released after the fact. So that was the real breakthrough.
And I think for your predecessors in that era who were inventing plumbing, the other thing that's really cool about this tool is that it replaces like all these other things on this wall.
Absolutely. You know what? This wrench built in 1869, you know, I've got an 8-inch one, I got a 12, a 24, I go up to 36, and I've had them forever, and I'm going to have them forever. And I know my grandsons are going to have them too. Thanks for all your expertise.
It's a perfect invention, and it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Most of the 130-year-old plaster in this house was removed to make way for mechanicals, interior installation, and to reconfigure a lot of these rooms. But there is one section where the original plaster and some of the wallpaper still remains. Mauro, we got a little patch up there. What condition is it in? What are you saying?
Well, here during the construction, they replaced this whole ceiling. And when they demoed the old ceiling, some of the plaster on the walls got damaged.
Right.
The plaster guys came here and they fixed this section here. And they couldn't fix this because a couple of the woodlet got broken.
Okay.
We're gonna fix them, we're gonna mud it, and get ready for a new wallpaper. Ready for mud? Okay, we're gonna use this plaster repair. It dries faster than plaster and it's harder as plaster. So we're gonna do a little mix, and it's gonna take about an hour and a half for the first layer to dry.
So 45 minutes to an hour. This is going to set up way faster than regular plaster.
That's regular plaster. With the plaster, we're gonna have to wait about a week or two until it dries and cure it, and this one will do a much faster job, and it dries as harder as plaster. The secret here is get started with the mud at that consistency, like a peanut butter, and force the plaster into the gaps.
So this is the first coat of how many?
First of 3, and then the second one we're gonna make a little thinner mud, and the last one is gonna be a flexible mud.
And flexible, why do we like flexible?
We like flexible because that will keep the cracks from coming back. So.
Gotcha.
Okay, all set, last application done. It's gonna take about 1 to 3 hours to dry. It's gonna be ready for a light sanding and ready for the wallpaper.
Looks smooth as glass, Mauro. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, these stairs are original to the house, well over 100 years old. And we really like the railings, and the homeowners really just want to restore it. But we do have some problems with the existing balusters, where some of them have broke over time or become loose, whether it's somebody falling into them, maybe moving some furniture. But we thought about maybe making some new ones, but that could be pretty expensive. Any good ideas what you do?
Yeah, these balusters, the broken ones seem to be right in this run right here. The rest of them are in very, very good shape. I think it'd be easier just to repair them. This run right here, the balusters are mortised into the handrail. So what I've done is I've loosened up these moldings. So you take these moldings off right here, and you'll see that the balusters are all dovetailed. You can see the dovetail right here. So if we just, I'll find one that's broken, like this one, and then I just have to jump around the other side. And Charlie, if you could just knock it. Yeah. And then they drop right out.
Well, this is Wayne's shop just outside of Boston, and they do a lot here. They can repair furniture and refinish the furniture. They can finish new pieces, a lot of architectural woodwork, and boy, they do a lot of doors. It's quite an operation. Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Norm.
So you've been hanging out with Charlie out at the construction site?
Yes, yes, and he brought these broken balusters to my attention, and so we're going to repair them.
So why not turn new ones?
Well, actually, we only have 12 broken balusters, so we figured it'd be more cost-effective to repair them, and we wouldn't sacrifice the time on the schedule.
All right, what's the first step?
First step is to strip the paint. Norm, this is our submersion tank. This is full of paint stripper. And what we'll do is we'll take a baluster, we'll put it in the stripper, and then what we do is we typically weigh it down so it's completely submerged, and we'll let it sit there for 2-3 hours to soften up the paint.
And then what happens?
Then what we do is we'll take the baluster out of this tank, we'll bring it over to our flow over tray where we pump stripper over the item, cleaning the residual paint from the piece. And once that's completed, we'll take it next door and we'll do the repair.
You have a great ventilation system in here. I can't smell anything.
Yes, we do. It's very important for our safety. So the next step is to take the strip baluster.
They look great, cleaned up.
Yes. And then we'll apply glue to the brake. Set it in this jig, which will keep it nice and square. We'll clamp it up, and then we'll let it set. So this baluster was glued up yesterday, so it's nice and tight, but as you can see, there are
a lot of voids
big void.
right in there. Yep.
Yes. What we'll do to remedy that is we'll use this epoxy stick. It's got a catalyst in the center of it. We'll cut a piece off, and it has a piece of plastic on the outside.
This stuff is great. I've used it quite frequently. It's amazing. It'll last forever, and you just have to really knead it to get it all mixed together.
And the kneading will activate it.
It gets to be all the same color. You're ready to go, right?
Yeah. And we'll apply it, and then we'll just fill the void. What's nice about this is it's sandable. It'll be dry within probably 10 minutes. So this baluster has already been filled and sanded.
So that was the break point right there.
Correct.
It's in a little different location than that one. But, you know, as much as we got that epoxy and everything in there, that is still the weak point. If this gets hit, it's going to want to break here. As good as that glue is, it's still a weak point. So how can we make it stronger?
Well, what we're going to do first is cut it. What's nice about that saw is it has a very thin blade, which will give us a very thin kerf.
All right, so that way it'll look exactly the same because we're not taking away too much material.
Correct. So now what we'll do is bring it over to the drill press. What we did here is we built a jig to allow this baluster to be held nice and square.
And it's vertical to the drill itself, so we get a nice clean hole. It's straight.
Correct. So we'll screw it in.
So I see you have a piece of tape on the bit, so that's the depth we want to go to.
Correct.
All right, that's half the length of your dowel. All right, perfect.
Very good. Now we'll drill out the other half.
All right.
Now we're ready to insert the dowel and glue it. If you want to stick that right in there. There. And now in this end. And then on this dowel. And now you can assemble it.
Okay, find our marks. That's all the way in there now. All right.
And then
Give it a tap.
nice.
Okay, glue squeezed out. Looks like a nice fit.
Very
Once
nice.
that dries, it's never going to break right there.
Not for 130 years.
Our electrician Heath and his crew have been installing fixtures and pulling wires for weeks. They all come down here to the basement, Heath, terminate in 2 new electrical breaker panels.
They do.
You're getting rid of the old kind, not using it anymore. Why is that?
So on a conventional panel, we've had a knockout on the side or the top that you would have knocked out. They'd put a cable connector in it, and that's where your wire would slide in.
Right. It literally would have gone into the hole, so we've got access and security.
Exactly. Then once inside, normally the neutral would connect to the neutral bar, and the hot wire would connect directly to the breaker. And if we had to, we'd use an arc fault or a GFI breaker that had a pigtail.
All right, so we know about GFCI, right? That's near sinks, wet areas.
Outdoors, basements, that kind of thing.
Okay, arc fault is...
A little different. So arc fault would be used in habitable spaces. So your living room, dining room, bedrooms, kitchens, that's where it's required.
And all of those breakers, GFCI arc fault, have that pigtail?
Have this pigtail.
So, what, now 2 white wires to this neutral bar?
So what would happen is we'd have to take this breaker, put this in, install this pigtail to the neutral bar, and then the white wire that would normally go here actually goes to the breaker.
Gotcha, okay. So that's the old way. Tell me about the new way.
The advantage to this is, first thing, as far as coming into the top, we don't need the connector anymore. It has a slot that we can actually slide the wire into, or multiple wires.
Oh, interesting.
Put those in, put a cap on,
Yeah.
holds everything into place.
And that's what it looks like when it's all done, but over here you get a sense of what it
Shows it
looked
over.
like when you just literally push it in through here and it kind of grabs it?
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
The other advantage is this has a neutral bar that actually carries the whole way down that's picked up by the breaker. We don't actually have to bring that pigtail to the neutral bar itself.
So you've got a neutral here, a hot, neutral on this side?
Exactly. And the advantage to that is this breaker has both built in now.
So built-in meaning one of these represents the pigtail?
So one would be hot, that would be the neutral, that would replace the pigtail, and instead of tying that in, you just simply click this into place.
Oh, interesting. So now you're not making up 20, 30 pigtails with that.
No, and the thing is, in Massachusetts now, we have to put arc fault protection on everything, which means this panel is full of all those pigtails. We're out of physical room to put these in. We'd have to put 40 of these in this panel into that neutral bar. A lot more wire, a lot more steps, a lot more space.
So what's so nefarious about arc faults that Massachusetts is requiring every breaker to protect against them?
So they're trying to stop any kind of arc and making sure it stops from a fire. So if you ever unplugged a vacuum cleaner when it's running,
Never done it.
never done that, and you see that little arc, that's what this breaker would sense, something like that. If it sees that, it's going to trip. So if you had a wire under a rug, if you had a nick in a wire in a wall, someone put a screw through it or a nail, that's when you're going to have the potential for seeing an arc.
And this would be your nick, your damaged wire?
Exactly. So you could have an arc from here to here with that nick, or it could actually jump across. The breaker would see that arc and shut it down to keep us from having a fire.
But if we didn't have that breaker, we would have basically uncontained electricity.
No insulation on the conductors, they could sit there and arc, and it may not trip a conventional breaker.
All right. Well, you did a beautiful job putting everything together. Your thoughts now that you've wired up your first one?
I like it. Hopefully the next one goes faster.
There you go. I'll leave you that because you don't need them anymore. Thanks, Heath.
Thanks.
Earlier, Mauro showed us how to repair some of the original plaster in this house, and now we're going to go for a very unique plaster finish here in the dining room. The homeowners wanted to make it a formal space, and so the designer said, well, why don't we step up the plaster detail here on the ceiling? So, Maurizio,
Yes.
nice to
Hi,
meet
Kevin.
you.
Nice to
You
meet
were
you.
going to help us do Venetian plaster?
Yep, Venetian plaster today.
What is it?
Venetian plaster is the popular finish in Italy where we use it for houses and commercial place and give the beauty in the house where paint sometimes cannot give it. So we give it that depth with three-dimensionality of colors and material. The material is 100% green material made from limestone base and Carrara marble stone. This is the base coat we use to prep the material with a white color.
So you say limestone and then Carrara marble, which
Carrara
I'm
marble.
familiar with for our countertops.
Correct.
You guys actually put it into this mud?
Not the countertop, but we're gonna use it, the stone. It's crashing the powder, we mix it with the limestone base.
Okay.
And the Carrara marble helps to give it that depth, that sheen we're gonna see at the end of the process.
So that's the base.
This is the base and this is the color, the final color.
And how do you make this? 'Cause
We're
this
going to
is-
use pigments, natural pigments come from the earth, come from the metals. They use a different kind of pigments.
Okay.
With this spatula, we're going to create that finish give it that sheen and that depth, the three-dimensionality, this material. We have Alessandra helping us to avoid the material dry too quick.
So seeing these trowel marks is part of the process to get that three-dimensional look.
That's correct.
So now time for the final coat.
Yes, this is the final coat.
Mauricio, are you comfortable with me working the trowel?
Oh yeah, just press. There we go, you're good. Slowly.